Hi guys, hot off the press, some great news, and Let's Talk Health TV is off to a flying start. We have just received an email from Julie Mancuso, a very well-renowned registered holistic nutritionist here in Toronto, and we're going to go chat to her in regards to a plant-based diet and the benefits of that. Follow me, let's go.
Me too.
First off, I guess let's just broadly, you can just give us an introduction about who you are and just so the audience has a bit of context.
Sure.
About what you do.
My name's Julie Mancuso. I am the owner and counselor of JM Nutrition. I've been counseling nutrition for over 10 years now, and I am out to help people eat better, live a longer and healthier life, educate people about nutrition. My niche is weight loss. I deal with a lot of digestive issues as well, many other health ailments such as cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar levels. So really it's just teaching people how to eat properly and live a well-fulfilled life.
Yeah, very good. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing now? With obviously there's a lot of content out there. It's very hard, I guess, for me as well as a consumer and in the public, to value information. Are you seeing that as one of the biggest barriers about people just qualifying the integrity of where this information is coming from?
Yes, there are so many fad diets out there nowadays, and in terms of these diets, it can be very overwhelming for someone just going online and trying to eat healthier.
Right.
And there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration when you're looking to change your eating habits. And so someone who goes online and finds a fad diet that works really well, especially with advertising nowadays, it makes everything look good and easy. It's not necessarily the right diet for everyone to follow. So a lot of these diets will work primarily because you're making a switch from probably not eating the greatest diet to a great switch of dropping carbohydrates out of the diet, eating more protein, eating less overall. But what someone needs to look at is this diet sustainable for them long term? So when you go online and you're seeing all these things to change, are they taking into consideration someone's state of mind, someone's budget, someone's lifestyle, food sensitivities, food preferences? So I always tell people that when you're starting, a diet, the novelty does eventually wear off. So it's great the first 30 days, you're going to feel good and lose weight, but at the end of the day, are you going to be able to stay in that weight, or are you going to revert to your old ways?
Yeah, absolutely. As I guess, is that one of the biggest differentiators being a holistic nutritionist, in the sense that you cover a range of different elements as opposed to just the food part?
Correct.
You were saying, mental mind state. So I guess that in a whole would make them feel, I guess, a little bit more comfortable about your approach.
Correct.
And what solution you're providing.
Right. So when someone comes in to see me, I'm dealing with only that one person. So I'm looking at all of their issues. And again, we mentioned state of mind is huge when you're looking to change your diet. It's not as easy as, I'll just cut carbohydrates out and eat more vegetables. It's not really realistic for a lot of people to do that, A, on their own, and B, for a long period of time without some accountability and coaching.
Right.
So when we take a look at all these factors, I can actually create a meal plan that is sustainable, and that does address their issues, their personal issues, their personal goals, their lifestyle, their individual budget, and work with them to coach them along that they stick to it. So when the novelty does eventually wear off, where do I go from here? I can help them get past that plateau, or give them other ideas, or if somebody is traveling, how do you stick to that?
Support, a lot of support.
Absolutely,
involved.
Encouragement, and you have to have compassion for this as well.
Oh, I bet, absolutely. With someone transforming from a very animal product-based diet, there must be a range of different challenges that they're going through, transforming over, let's say, to a plant-based diet. What are some of the biggest sort of transformative challenges that you're seeing here in Toronto?
Well, when someone is eating very meat-based protein, and we're talking more like deli meats and steaks and processed meats and hot dogs, and you switch over to a plant-based diet, you are going to feel better. You're making a switch from what I call dead food to eating live food. So automatically that person is going to feel better because they're putting more natural enzymes and food into their body. Some people may find it a challenge because of the convenience of these protein-based foods. And when you do follow a plant-based food diet, there is a lot more work involved, and you have to make sure that you are balancing out your proteins, which are not as readily available if you don't do your research,
Right.
or get help from a health practitioner to coach you through that and explain it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Now, I don't feel that everyone needs to be eating a plant-based diet.
No.
And not everyone wants to eat a plant-based diet.
Of course not. No,
right?
it's not a one size fits all.
Yes, and I realize that with a plant-based diet, you can feel better because of the live foods that you're getting into your system, and it has an anti-inflammatory effect on the body. But you can also do that eating things like omega-3 fatty acid fish, like wild salmon, can provide anti-inflammatory effect on the body as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to really digress, I just had a very pertinent question right now. But when you were talking earlier around like budget's a big part, right? In terms of someone's financial income.
Correct.
What's your take on eating a plant-based versus the animal product-based diet? What is a cheaper alternative for the average consumer?
In terms of if you were eating a plant-based diet?
Yeah.
So
is it significantly, like, is it more or less? Or,
it can be. So, for example, if you buy a steak nowadays, it's not going to be cheap.
No.
Whereas you can get the same type of protein from beans, which is obviously going to be cheaper. So in terms of eating a plant-based diet, I wouldn't say it's any more expensive by doing that, unless you start incorporating certain protein powders and plant-based powders and protein bars. That always is an added expense. You may need some extra vitamins and minerals to make up for not eating the animal-based products such as B12, but again, that's not very expensive. So I wouldn't say that it's going to cost any more money eating a plant-based diet.
Gotcha. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. For the people that are out there that don't understand what a complete protein is, what's your take on a complete protein?
So a complete protein contains all the essential amino acids that your body needs. And basically, when you're eating animal-based proteins such as chicken, fish, eggs, turkey, all of those have the complete amino acids that your body needs. Now, when you're eating a plant-based diet, for example, quinoa is a complete plant-based protein that has all the essential amino acids that your body needs. For example, beans are an incomplete protein.
Okay.
Brown rice is an incomplete protein, which means it has certain amino acids in each one, but not the full spectrum.
Right.
But for example, if you combine beans and brown rice, then you will get all the essential amino acids you need.
Gotcha.
So that's why it's very important.
Combination's key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good, very good. Oh, hello, fancy seeing you here. Welcome to the show. Let's Talk Health TV, proudly sponsored by Profi, a fantastic, complete plant-based protein, which is just absolutely fantastic, super delicious, and extremely efficient. Whether or not you're in the corporate world, you need a pre or post gym supplement for that protein intake, this is for you. It is absolutely fantastic. And I just want to showcase how easy it really is. So in there, and then over to the water sink. Guys, full cup of water, easy as that. I have not, to be honest, come across anything that is as simple and easy as this that gives you a complete whole plant-based protein. And then in we go, like that. Guys, super easy, so efficient, doesn't matter. You can take this anywhere, whether or not you're in the corporate world, go to the gym, in your car, providing you got water obviously, but it is just so easy. Whip it up, 20 grams of protein in each one, a whole complete protein, plant-based, and it is just fantastic. Like that, and it tastes good too. That's the best thing about it. It's all about good taste. Start the day with a bang. Let's talk more about the plant-based diet. Obviously, there's big talks about vitamin B12 not being prevalent within the plant-based diet. How important is vitamin B12 for the human? And if you were deficient in that, what are some of the symptoms that you would see?
B12 is very important vitamin that you need to get in. A lot of men or women who are deficient in it will feel very tired.
Right.
Fatigue is a huge one. Foggy-headed as well. low energy is probably the biggest.
Okay.
So it helps produce red blood cells,
Okay.
which are important for oxygen and energy. So it is important to get it, and it's not impossible to get it through a plant-based diet. But if you're lacking, you take a supplement, which is, again, very cost effective. And it's important to take the proper B12. So you want to take it sublingual, which is under your tongue, or a spray, which you put on the inside of your mouth. Those are the best absorbable B12, opposed to just taking a pill.
Okay. Yeah, very good, very good. Are there chewable forms of B12?
You can, but not as well absorbed.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha. So under the tongue, it's straight into the bloodstream.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good.
Correct.
Very good. What? Let's talk more around. So there's a range of different supplements on the market. There's huge drivers behind corporatocracy, brands. Associations behind the type of marketing message that they're promoting to the public.
Right.
It's very hard and for a consumer like myself to value that information in regards to, you cannot just look at the nutritional information sometimes on the back now because some of that data is skewed. So as a nutritionist and even as a dietitian, is a big part of your role providing statistical evidence and studies to really make your clients feel a little bit more rest assured?
Yeah, I mean, most of my clients that come to see me trust me. So when I always work with food first. So I don't put anyone on any kind of supplementation until a few weeks in, if they need it and if they're comfortable with taking it. So I work with food first, and then I may recommend something, for example, like probiotics or a protein powder.
Kefir?
So
Have you heard of kefir?
I have.
Yeah.
I'm more a fan of the taking probiotics. I find it's more potent.
Oh, okay.
Taking it in a pill form or powder form.
Right.
But I will only recommend those if they need it and if they're comfortable taking it.
Okay.
But I generally use very reputable brands, that I have on hand, or I'll recommend reputable brands that they can pick up at a health food store. I always find that, sometimes you do have to pay a bit more for a better brand as to what you're getting. You want to make sure it's highly absorbable as well. So even though when you're reading a label, it may say this vitamin C has 1,000 milligrams, how much of that vitamin C are you absorbing? How much of the ingredients are fillers in that? There's different types of vitamin C, there's different types of magnesium, there's different types of multi, and just because something is natural or it mentions natural on the bottle doesn't mean it's natural for everyone or is going to react well with everyone.
Absolutely, yeah. What's the recommended dietary intake for vitamin C for an average?
About 500 milligrams.
Oh, okay.
According to nutritionists.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, right.
About 500 milligrams, but if you're sick, you can take up to 2,000 milligrams. They mention when you're sick to take it up till basically your bowels are loose, and that's when you know you're having enough.
Oh, wow.
While you're sick.
How much are you getting out of an average orange?
About
Roughly.
60 milligrams.
Oh, is that all? Oh, interesting.
That's why it makes sense to take a supplement, because you'd have to eat about 10 oranges, which is not really realistic for most people.
Yeah, absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
So we've been talking a lot with different dietitians, nutritionists that are out there, and one of the key questions I ask, because it is such a saturated market, there are many of you, just like other industries. But I mean, it must be very challenging to differentiate. And what I'm hearing is that it's it's a personalised approach. It's the emotional connection. It's at the end of the day, you're really showcasing a lot of empathy and getting to know this person on a one-on-one basis for a prolonged period of time. Apart from that, is there any other differentiators out there? Just give me a little bit of a rundown in terms of your approach with how you deal with your clients.
I definitely create a realistic meal plan for my clients. So I don't expect people to come in and want to eat like I do. But I do definitely take everything into consideration when someone comes in and meets me. So I spend a good deal of time with them one-on-one, and we go through, the foods they like, any food sensitivities they have, their goals, long-term and short-term goals. And I create a plan with them so that they know exactly what they're eating and they're involved in the process.
Interesting.
So I don't have a one-size-fits-all handout that I say, here, eat this, because everyone knows they need to eat more vegetables, more leafy greens, lean protein, less carbohydrates, especially when it comes for weight loss. Not everyone knows how to piece that together. So I actually create breakfast options, lunch and dinner options, snack options.
Oh, wow.
So they have choices to choose from, opposed to trying to piece it together.
Right.
Because you could go on the internet and get that information and again feel very
course.
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I outline it all for them. A big thing is I allow for indulgences. So ideally,
It's all about balance.
Exactly. And ideally, sure, do I want them eating great all the time? Absolutely, but it's not realistic.
No, of course not.
I allow for indulgences, but I teach them how to balance that.
Gotcha.
So,
how much is too much?
Exactly. And that's where some people can go wrong, right?
Half a bottle of wine, whole bottle of wine.
Exactly. Exactly. So I do allow for that.
Right.
And again, like you mentioned, compassion is necessary. You need to offer support. You need to offer encouragement. And I always mention to my clients that I do not expect you to be perfect, but I do want to see some progress.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So you give them a KPI, key performance indicator. Yeah. And if they're not achieving, do you walk away from that?
No.
It's a very around the other way.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about carbohydrates just a little bit. There's a lot of information on the market there that if you are not burning those, they turn to fat. What's your take on carbohydrates?
Yes, everybody loves to eat carbohydrates. That's your rice, potatoes, pastas, breads, and we know that there's two different types, the good carbohydrates, the bad carbohydrates. So we obviously try to promote eating more whole grains, like brown rice, whole grain pastas, opposed to white-based. When you do, and a big thing I like to do is explain it to my clients so they understand why they should be reducing the amount of carbohydrates they are eating.
Right.
So when you intake that bread, rice, and pasta, and you don't burn it off as energy, it gets stored as fat. Now, if we reduce the amount of carbohydrates you're eating, you can actually start dipping into stored fat and burn that off as energy, hence weight loss.
Gotcha.
So it's a matter of bringing your carbohydrates down over time in order to start burning fat.
Gotcha.
Now, ideally, your amount of carbohydrates will range from person to person greatly. So if someone's coming in and eating 8 servings of carbohydrates, which that does happen, I'm not going to reduce them down to 2. It will be way too drastic. But we could go from 8 to 6, start to feel better, stomach shrinks, incorporating more fibrous carbohydrates like vegetables to feel full, and the 6 goes to 4, and the 4 goes to 3.
Yeah. Wow.
So
for the average consumer, let's do a mini profile there. They're working out daily. They're not an intense athlete. They're working a corporate job. It's a fairly generic lifestyle. What's like a recommended dietary intake on carbohydrates? Like at what point would they know that they are having too much? Is it 100 grams a day? Is it 200?
Are we talking female or male?
Oh, let's say male.
Male.
That's
Okay.
not sexist. Let's do both.
So
avoid any.
Yeah. Typically, males can consume more carbohydrates. Typically, men can lose weight a bit easier than women, but again, that varies greatly. So for example, with men, we would recommend 2 to 3 servings of carbohydrates a day, which would be ideally breakfast and lunch, because you're eating them earlier in the day, you can burn them off, opposed to in the evening when it's later and your metabolism is slower. So for example, that could look like a slice of bread, a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, one or the other.
Gotcha.
Lunch could look like, if we're eating healthy carbs, a cup of brown rice. It could look like a sweet potato. So it can look like a whole grain wrap. So again, these can vary. So someone, like I mentioned, who might be eating 3 cups of rice, we would reduce it down to 2 cups of rice.
Gotcha.
The big issue is that typically people don't eat enough vegetables.
Of course.
So their meal consists of, rice and chicken, let's say. But add some vegetables in there, the rice goes down, the veggies come up, and then you complement that with your chicken.
Yeah, absolutely.
With female, it all really depends on genetics, metabolism, again, state of mind as well. So there could be a lot of emotional eating on both parts with male and female.
Yeah.
But ideally, you're looking again at 1 or 2 servings of carbs per day. So again, you're looking at breakfast and or lunch. And the idea is to not eat a lot of carbohydrates at night because the metabolism is slower and you don't want to bring that to bed with you.
Gotcha, that makes sense. I would like, you just mentioned chicken there, and it's just come to my mind right now. But there is a lot of talk around, hormones. Monsanto pumps up certain things with these chickens, and free range chicken versus the other alternative. I mean, what's your take on? Because I have heard that the sodium level is quite high. With a range of chickens out there, you're for or against it? What's your view on chicken? The most general. What's your view on chicken?
I must talk about chicken 20 times a day.
Oh, do you? Really?
Yeah.
Right.
So in
talk
terms
about
of
beef if you like.
So I'd rather talk about chicken.
Oh, okay, great.
So with chicken, it's probably the most common protein eating among people. It's readily available. It can be pretty cheap as well. it is pumped with a lot of hormones if you're just buying commercial-based chicken, and a lot of people have controversy about that. Ideally, you want to be eating grass-fed meats. That's ideal, so you're not getting hormones implemented into the chicken when you're eating it. Now, there's grain-fed that you can get, but again, what grains are these chickens being fed? Is it corn and soy? Because if so, that's not healthy either. They're just filler foods. So grass-fed would be ideal. Again, that comes down to a budget thing again. So not everyone can afford or believes in buying grass-fed meats or grass-fed chicken. So would I recommend that first and foremost? Absolutely. Is everyone going to follow that? No.
No.
So everyone has to kind of pick and choose as to what they want to do when it comes to that. But obviously I promote it, but I'm not one that says you need to eat grass-fed chicken.
Gotcha.
You know, so if someone's coming in with a, or you're not coming back. If someone
is that your choice? Either or. If they're not hitting their KPIs, Julie's not working with you any longer.
But it depends what someone's coming in with, because you can still lose weight eating grain-fed compared to grass-fed unless you have severe hormone issues that's affecting your weight loss. But someone coming in who says, you know what, I need to really clean up my liver and my health is a huge issue, then the grass-fed route would be the way to go.
Yeah, very good, very good. That's very valuable feedback. Can we go, we seem to be going from carbohydrate to protein and then back, but I just want to touch back on the carbohydrate side. How bad is pasta? There's huge talk around.
You're asking an Italian nutritionist how bad pasta is. Luckily enough, I
don't want you to tell me what everyone's saying. I go to Trattoria Trevinetti weekly. It's my biggest.
You know what? With pasta, it's probably the highest carbohydrate out there that you can eat in terms of grams per serving of carbohydrates. So what I typically recommend for people is if you can steer away from a white-based pasta and eat more of a brown rice pasta, especially if you're gluten-free, or a quinoa-based pasta. There's even chickpea pasta, a whole grain pasta. There's so many different options available now that people can eat and enjoy. So when you're eating more of a whole grain pasta rather than a white-based pasta, you're getting more fiber, you're getting more nutrients, it's going to make you feel fuller for a longer period of time. Therefore, you can eat less of that pasta. So do I take pasta out? No. If someone doesn't care for it, then I don't include
you won't
it.
take pasta out, no, being Italian, but
Yes.
but in moderation.
Exactly. It's all in moderation, but I do, when it comes to weight loss, I do mention to limit that because it is the highest based carbohydrate food out there.
Absolutely, yeah. Pasta, pesto, and capers, that's my go-to.
That's yummy.
Yeah, that's very, very good. Anyhow, let's talk, I do want switching back to the plant-based products out there, is there, are you working with a range of different supplements? If a client comes in and has heard of different supplements that they're telling you about, you've got your set ones that you recommend, or how do generally nutritionists and dietitians work when they are recommending supplements? So do they have endorsements and you're only allowed to talk about those, or do you keep it very objective?
No, I keep it very objective. Okay. I don't have any endorsements. I work very closely with some naturopathic doctors at private clinics, and I've learned a lot from them, as well as to good products and my own research. And I have different reps that I deal with different companies, and just from personal experience. So I eat a lot of plant-based foods as well. That's a big part of my diet. So currently I'm eating a rice-based protein. I was eating a pea-based or drinking a pea-based protein until I found out I had a food sensitivity, which is also another big part when it comes to eating healthy as well.
Did you get the allergic reaction, or how did it
food sensitivity. So it,
but did you get what was the symptom? Blood work. Oh, right.
Yeah, and there's different ways about going about it, and certain of my clients are recommended to do that if they're suffering from a lot of digestive issues. It's always a good route to take. But a lot of time you can take stuff out through trial and error as well.
Gotcha.
So it just depends on the person.
Yeah, interesting.
But no endorsements. It's more about the product I like, the ingredients, that the fillers are low, that it tastes good. That's important as well. Maybe not so much to me, but for other people it will. And the convenience of people picking it up and having it is another big issue as well.
Absolutely, yeah. You've raised an interesting point. So for food sensitivity, if you are not getting blood work done on a regular basis and you are asymptomatic, how would, and that's why I asked the question, because I was like, you're getting a rash, or is there any key telltale signs or symptoms? If you're not getting those and you're not getting your blood work, how are you supposed to know that you're sensitive?
So typically that will come out in certain ways. So there's a food allergy, which could be like a peanut, right? Where it's automatic. Someone can eat a peanut and have an automatic anaphylactic reaction, which is very serious. Then you have food sensitivities, where that could come out through eczema, headaches, low energy, digestive issues like gas and bloating. So those are more at a lower level, not to downplay those, because those are not comfortable either.
No.
But so for example, and that's how I got into nutrition, I had suffered from a lot of digestive issues.
Oh, really?
So through food sensitivities, I found out I had sensitivity to pea protein and to almonds, which were a huge part of my diet. And at times I couldn't understand why I wasn't feeling the greatest when I'm eating almonds and pea protein and plant-based foods.
Interesting.
So when I found out I had a food sensitivity, luckily I'm a nutritionist and I can change my plan pretty easily and introduced different alternatives. And that's why I mentioned to people that there's always alternatives to what you're eating if you need to do something different. Two big rules I have are: you should never feel hungry on my program, and I will never make you eat anything that you don't like, because it's not realistic.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's so many factors when it comes to nutrition that you can look at, not just weight loss.
Absolutely. Let's talk very quickly, and we will wrap this up soon, but let's talk quickly about the fad diets that are out there. They come and go, they're not sustainable. Are they not sustainable simply because they are not a one-size-fits-all approach?
They typically are a one-size-fits-all approach, and they do work. I'm not going to say that they don't work. So if someone is eating a poor diet and switches to one of those, let's say, high fat, high protein, and not necessarily good fats, low carb diet, will they lose weight? Absolutely. Within 30 days, they'll feel better. First week, maybe not so much. But after that, and they get past that and the sugar cravings, they will feel better. But is it sustainable? Can they see themselves eating like that long term? What happens if they do have a big bowl of pasta at your favorite restaurant and they get a taste for that? Is that going to spark more cravings and lead to a bit of a binge? It may. So I'm not going to say that it does or doesn't work for everyone. It can. It cannot. The other thing that I'm looking at as well is weight loss. They're looking at weight loss. But if you're eating a high protein, animal-based protein diet and high fat, so we're talking steak and eggs and bacon, you can lose weight, but what's your cholesterol going to look like in 30 to 60 days?
Not good, yeah.
Right? So, and again, that depends on the person, but you have to look at the whole, not just, great, I want to lose weight, I'm going to do this diet. There's so many factors to take into consideration.
Interesting, yeah. With the cholesterol talk, I mean, with eggs, right? I mean, when we've seen What the Health and how they're doing that comparison with cigarettes, like, is the cholesterol in eggs that bad? Like, if you're
I don't
eating
like
eggs,
that comparison.
Oh, neither do I.
Personally.
That wasn't accurate. But if you're eating eggs daily, and a lot of people do, if we track back to generations,
exactly.
Bacon and eggs was a staple diet in the morning for a lot of our grandparents.
I like eggs. I recommend eggs. When it comes to cholesterol, again, it's something that we're going to say in moderation. We don't necessarily need to take it out. So if someone's eating like 4 eggs a day, that's not a good thing, because overdoing any food isn't good, except vegetables.
Oh, really?
Yeah, vegetables are
You
very good.
can never have too much of that.
Unless you have digestive issues, then you have to be careful with certain vegetables.
Gotcha.
But going back to the egg thing, in moderation, and that's with everything in moderation. So am I against eggs? Not at all. Am I saying eat 3 eggs a day? No. So it's all about the balance.
Yeah, very good. What's your take on the ketogenic diet, and who would that be? Or who would that apply to?
Right, and again, I've had clients come in and have done the ketogenic diet and they've lost the weight, and then in 30 days they either put the weight back on, or they crave the carbohydrates, or they didn't feel great. Again, that's high fat, high protein diet, which does work for weight loss, but again, I more get your good fats from foods like avocado, olive oil, nuts and seeds, and fish and flax seeds and things like that, which are more beneficial for the heart. Provide much more energy and better for digestion as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Julie, thank you so much for
No
your time.
problem.
I do appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
So guys, that's a wrap. Fantastic. Head along to profiprohealth.com and enjoy yourself a complete plant-based protein. Thanks for your time and enjoy.